Hey everyone, ready for some hidden knowledge? We're diving into dowsing today.
Ooh, dowsing.
Yeah, and get this, it's way more than just, finding water with a stick.
Yeah.
We're looking at a book called The Disciplines of Dowsing.
Okay.
It's by Tom Graves and Liz Poraj-Wilczynska, published back in 2008. So this book, it really digs into how to make dowsing a real disciplined practice.
Yeah, it really digs deep, pun intended, I suppose,
I was going to say, you beat me to it.
into how to make dowsing a truly disciplined practice. I have to admit, I always thought of dowsing as a bit, mystical.
Yeah.
And even a little random.
Uh-huh.
But this book seems to be saying there's a real art to it.
Absolutely.
Even a science.
Yeah, it emphasizes quality and discipline.
Yeah.
And it goes way beyond just, locating water,
Yeah.
sensing energy fields, finding lost objects,
Wow.
even gaining insights into historical sites.
Really?
It's all a part of dowsing.
So for this deep dive, we're going to uncover what dowsing really is.
Right. We'll debunk some myths along the way
Okay.
and explore how it can be done, with discipline
Yeah.
and even artistry.
It's a fascinating blend of scientific observation and intuition, all tied together by a deep connection to the places that you're dowsing.
All right, so let's start with the basics.
Okay.
How does this book define dowsing?
Well, it boils down to 4 key components.
Okay.
Sensing something.
Okay.
Figuring out where it is, understanding what that means, and then actually putting that knowledge to use.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not just those, iconic dowsing rods twitching over a hidden well.
Right.
There's more to it than that.
Way more.
Really?
Yeah, finding water is a classic example, but dowsing can be applied to a huge range of things. It's really a complex dance between the dowser, their tools, and the environment itself.
Okay, I have to ask, and I bet you get this a lot.
Yeah.
Is there any chance that this is all just,
Right.
a bunch of coincidences?
Yeah.
Are dowsers just really good at picking up on subtle clues, or is there something more, out there going on?
It's a question that deserves a solid answer, and this book tackles it head on.
Okay.
The authors are clear that dowsing isn't about supernatural powers. It's about heightened sensitivity and learning to pick up on subtle cues, some of which we might not even consciously register.
So more like a musician who can hear nuances in a song that most people wouldn't even notice.
That's a great analogy.
Oh, wow.
Dowsers are training themselves to perceive those subtle changes in their environment.
Right.
And they often use tools to help amplify those perceptions.
Speaking of tools, let's talk about the dowsing toolkit.
Right.
What are we working with here? I'm picturing those classic L-shaped dowsing rods. But what else is in a dowser's arsenal?
Those L-shaped rods, also known as angle rods, are definitely the most recognizable.
Okay.
They're held loosely, and the way they move actually amplifies tiny rotations in the dowser's wrists.
So it's not just about whether the rods move, but how they move.
Exactly. The book describes a whole language of responses.
Oh, wow.
They can cross over, point in a specific direction, or stay parallel.
Oh.
Each movement can mean something different depending on what the dowser is asking and the context of the location.
Yeah.
The book goes into great detail about how to hold and interpret those rods, and it really stresses the importance of a relaxed grip for the best sensitivity.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow. It's way more nuanced than I realized. What other tools are there?
Pendulums are another popular tool.
Okay.
They're basically a weight on a string or chain,
Yeah.
and they respond to even subtler movements of the dowser's hand.
Really?
Yeah, it's fascinating how specific the book gets about choosing the right weight and string length for different tasks. The pendulum really becomes an extension of the dowser's senses.
It seems like the tool itself isn't magical.
Right.
It's more about creating that feedback loop between the dowser, the tool, and what they're trying to sense.
Exactly. It's all about amplifying that connection.
Now, what I found really intriguing is how this book talks about dowsing as a disciplined practice. They introduce what they call the 4 disciplines of a dowser.
Right.
Almost like different approaches you can take.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about these disciplines?
It's such a brilliant framework.
Okay.
The first discipline is the artist.
Okay.
And that's all about cultivating subjective value. It's about opening yourself up to the experience of the place.
Yeah.
Sensing its energy and expressing what you feel.
Okay.
It's the intuitive, creative side of dowsing.
So kind of like an artist trying to capture the essence of a landscape on canvas.
Yeah.
But the dowser, as artist, is tuning into the subtle energy and impressions of a location.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
It's about being receptive to those subjective experiences and letting your feelings and sensations guide you.
Interesting.
Yeah, the book even talks about expressing those impressions through art, writing, or music.
Yeah.
It's about translating intuitive insights into tangible forms.
I love that.
Yeah.
So you've got the intuitive artist. What's the next discipline?
Next comes the mystic.
Okay.
This mode seeks subjective truth.
Right.
It's all about deep belief, feeling a connection to the place, and trusting those inner revelations.
So it's less about the tangible stuff and more about tapping into a deeper meaning.
Yeah.
A sense of belonging in that location.
Exactly.
Oh.
The mystic is about trusting your intuition and letting those deeper truths reveal themselves. Think of it as tapping into a deeper layer of meaning and resonance with the location.
Yeah.
The book even talks about techniques like meditation as ways to cultivate that connection and enhance sensitivity to subtle cues.
Okay, so we've got the artist, who's all about the subtle sensation.
Right.
The mystic, who dives into the deeper meaning. What's the third discipline?
The third is the scientist.
Okay.
And here's where things get a little more objective. This is about measuring, verifying, and analyzing data.
Okay.
It's bringing a more rigorous, evidence-based approach to dowsing.
So taking those intuitive insights and grounding them in solid, verifiable observations.
Exactly.
Bringing in the scientific method.
Precisely.
Okay.
The scientist in you might use techniques like GPS mapping, surveying, and detailed record keeping to document your findings and analyze patterns.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's all about anchoring the dowsing experience in objective data and making sure observations can be repeated and verified.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got the intuitive artist,
Right.
the spiritual mystic, the analytical scientist.
Yeah.
What's the final discipline in this dowsing quartet?
The fourth discipline is the magician.
The magician.
And this one's all about action.
Okay.
It prioritizes objective value,
Okay.
how effective and useful your dowsing is, and what practical results you can achieve.
So if the artist is like a painter capturing the essence of a scene, the magician's like, well, a magician.
Right.
Using their skills to create a specific outcome.
Exactly.
They're taking those dowsing skills and putting them to practical use.
That's a great way to think about it.
Okay.
The magician asks, what can I do with this knowledge?
Right.
It's about problem solving.
Yeah.
Using those dowsing insights to locate things, assess the energy of a place for practical reasons, really applying that knowledge to the real world.
That's a fascinating way to look at it.
Yeah.
It's not just about the act of dowsing. It's about the mindset and the approach you bring to it.
And the book stresses that the key to quality dowsing is balancing all four of these disciplines.
Right.
It's not about picking one and sticking with it, but recognizing when each mode is most helpful and learning to switch between them easily.
So like a well-rounded artist who can blend different techniques seamlessly.
Yeah.
A skilled dowser knows when to tap into intuition, when to dig for deeper meaning, when to analyze data, and when to put those insights into action.
You got it. Each discipline offers a unique lens to view the world through. And mastering dowsing comes from integrating them into a cohesive whole.
Before we get too carried away with all the positive aspects of dowsing,
Right.
the book also offers some cautionary advice.
Okay.
They talk about the 7 sins of dowsing.
7 sins.
Pitfalls that can trip up even the most well-intentioned dowser.
Okay.
Trust me, you don't want to make these mistakes.
Yeah.
Let's unpack these sins, starting with the first one,
Yeah.
the hype hubris.
Okay.
What exactly is that?
This sin is all about those overblown claims and marketing tricks that ultimately damage the credibility of dowsing.
Right.
Think of those sensationalized stories that promise guaranteed results.
Oh, yeah.
Things that, frankly, just aren't realistic.
So like those late-night infomercials that promise you'll get rich quick
Exactly.
if you just swing a pendulum the right way.
It's all smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
And it gives dowsing a bad name. The book really emphasizes honesty and integrity in dicing. It's about being upfront about the limitations and avoiding those grandiose claims that just erode trust in the long run.
Yeah. No one likes a snake oil salesman.
Right.
Especially when you're dealing with something as intriguing as dowsing.
Yeah.
All right, what's the next sin we need to watch out for?
It's called the Golden Age game.
Okay.
And it happens when dowsers get caught up romanticizing the past and relying on what they call ancient wisdom.
Yeah.
They cling to these idealized notions that ancient cultures had mystical knowledge that's been lost to time.
So those romanticized images of ancient dowsers summoning mystical powers
Right.
to build Stonehenge or find buried treasure.
That's the one.
Yeah.
The book cautions dowsers to be wary of those overly romanticized views of the past. It's about understanding that while ancient cultures might have had their own dowsing traditions,
Yeah.
those practices were rooted in their own time and beliefs.
Yeah.
We have to approach the past with respect, but also a healthy dose of skepticism.
So appreciate the history, but don't let it cloud your judgment.
Exactly.
Don't get swept away by those romantic ideas.
Ground your practice in the present while acknowledging the rich tapestry of dowsing traditions that have come before.
Right, so avoid the hype
Uh-huh.
and the romanticized history.
Yeah.
What's sin number 3 on this list?
This one is the New Age nuisance.
Okay.
And it's all about avoiding discipline, oversimplifying concepts,
Right.
and blurring the lines between those different modes of dowsing we talked about earlier. It's that tendency to shy away from rigor
Yeah.
and embrace a sort of anything goes approach
Right.
that lacks structure and clarity.
So those folks who dabble in a bit of everything,
Yeah.
tossing around terms like energy vortex and
Yeah.
crystal healing,
Mm-hmm.
without really understanding the principles or having any real discipline.
You hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
The book warns against that lack of rigor. It emphasizes that while intuition and creativity are important,
Yeah.
they need to be balanced with a disciplined approach to ensure quality results and avoid misinterpretations.
So intuition is valuable, but it needs to be tempered with discipline and a solid understanding of how dowsing works.
Absolutely. It's about steering clear of that woolly approach that often pops up in the New Age movement where concepts are oversimplified
Right.
and the boundaries between different dowsing approaches get blurry. You need to have a solid foundation to build on.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So far, we need to avoid the hype,
Yeah.
romanticizing history, and that undisciplined New Age approach.
Yeah.
What's the 4th sin on this list of dowsing no-nos?
This one's called the meaning mistake.
Meaning mistake.
Okay, and it's all about overinterpreting data and giving too much weight to your findings. It's that tendency to see patterns where none exist
Right.
and jump to conclusions without enough evidence.
So like those who see a dowsing rod twitch and immediately declare they found the lost city of Atlantis.
Exactly.
Oh boy.
It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of a discovery,
Yeah.
but the book stresses the importance of critical thinking and avoiding what's called confirmation bias.
Right.
That's when you're only looking for evidence that supports what you already believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's important to remember that just because two things happen together doesn't mean one caused the other. And we have to be cautious about assigning meaning to random events.
Don't jump to conclusions.
Right.
Be skeptical of those big pronouncements and back up your interpretations with solid evidence.
Yeah.
Got it. What's the 5th sin we need to watch out for?
This one's called the possession problem.
Possession problem.
And it happens when dowsers get too attached to their beliefs
Okay.
and start claiming ownership over sacred knowledge. They become dogmatic and territorial, guarding their dowsing secrets as if they hold the only key to hidden truths.
So like those who think they have a monopoly on dowsing wisdom, hoarding their knowledge and techniques like they're precious jewels.
That's it, exactly.
Wow.
The book encourages dowsers to be open to different perspectives and avoid those ego-driven claims of having exclusive knowledge.
Right.
It's about remembering that dowsing is a practice that's always evolving and that sharing knowledge and experiences can benefit the entire community.
So be open to new ideas.
Yeah.
Avoid dogmatism and share your insights with others.
Precisely. It's about fostering a collaborative spirit and remembering that dowsing is a journey of discovery,
Right.
not a competition to see who holds the most sacred knowledge.
Okay, I'm taking notes here. We've got to avoid the hype, the romanticized history, the undisciplined New Age approach,
Right.
jumping to conclusions, and being possessive of our knowledge. What's the 6th sin on this list?
This one's a bit more serious.
Ah.
It's called the reality risk. And it happens when dowsers blur the lines between imagination and reality. They become so absorbed in the dowsing experience that they lose touch with the everyday world and can potentially put themselves or others at risk.
So they get so caught up in the unseen world that they forget about their own well-being.
Exactly.
Or make choices based on dowsing insights without considering the real-world consequences.
That's exactly what we want to avoid.
Right.
The book stresses the importance of grounding yourself after dowsing sessions. Take breaks.
Yeah.
Do things that bring you back to the present moment.
Okay.
Eat something. Relax.
Right.
Reconnect with your surroundings.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's crucial to remember that dowsing can be a powerful way to explore the unseen. But you need to maintain a healthy balance between those experiences and the demands of everyday life.
Like coming up too fast after a deep dive.
Yeah.
You need to decompress and give yourself time to adjust.
Exactly.
Enjoy the dowsing experience.
Right.
But don't lose yourself in it.
Approach dowsing with a sense of responsibility. Exploring the unseen can be fascinating.
Yeah.
But it's important to keep a healthy perspective and not let those experiences overwhelm your sense of reality.
Okay, we're almost through this list of sins.
Yeah.
We've got to avoid the hype,
Uh-huh.
romanticize history,
Right.
the undisciplined New Age approach, hasty interpretations, possessiveness,
Right.
and losing touch with reality.
Uh-huh.
What's the final sin we need to watch out for?
This last one is all about the learning process. It's
Okay.
called Lost in the Learning Labyrinth.
Learning labyrinth.
And it highlights how important it is to understand the stages of developing dowsing skills.
Right.
It's about those who get discouraged by the inevitable ups and downs of learning something new and give up too soon. Or, conversely, those who get stuck in a rut and never progress beyond a certain point.
So you've got those who get frustrated and abandon their dowsing journey altogether, and those who get complacent and never challenge themselves to grow.
That's it.
Interesting.
The book encourages dowsers to embrace the learning process. Be patient, be persistent,
Yeah.
and remember that mastering any skill takes time, dedication, and a willingness to learn from your mistakes.
Right.
Find that balance between pushing yourself to grow and being kind to yourself along the way.
Enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
Embrace the challenges and celebrate those milestones along the way.
Right.
It sounds like becoming a skilled dowser is an ongoing process,
Yeah.
not a destination you arrive at.
Exactly. It's about approaching the journey with curiosity, humility, and a willingness to learn and grow. You're always a student in dowsing.
Wow. Those are some incredibly valuable insights.
Yeah.
It's like a roadmap for navigating the world of dowsing responsibly and effectively. And a great way to avoid those pitfalls that can lead to misinterpretations
Right.
or even harm.
And the book really drives home the point that by understanding these sins,
Right.
dowsers can approach their practice with more awareness, integrity, and ultimately achieve a higher level of quality and insight in their work.
All right, so we've covered the basics of dowsing, the tools,
Yeah.
the different approaches you can take,
Yeah.
and those crucial sins to avoid.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm really curious to see how this plays out in the real world.
Okay.
The book has some fascinating case studies
Yeah.
where the authors put these principles into practice.
Right.
Are you ready to see how it all comes together in the field?
Absolutely. Let's explore how these dowsing disciplines can help uncover hidden stories and gain a deeper understanding of the landscape.
Perfect. Our first stop is Bellis Nap,
Okay.
an ancient long barrow in England.
Hmm.
Get ready for some fascinating insights into the energy of this ancient site
Okay.
and how dowsing can help unlock its secrets. So Bellis Nap, this ancient long barrow in England,
Right.
you mentioned that the authors of this book used it as a case study.
They did.
What makes this site so special?
Well, Bellis Nap is more than just an isolated monument.
Yeah.
It's like a piece of a much larger puzzle.
Hmm.
The authors of this book really emphasize that to understand the barrow, you need to consider the entire landscape around it.
Zoom out and see the bigger picture.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
And they didn't just rely on traditional dowsing techniques for this one.
Okay.
They also use something they call archaeography to really tap into the spirit of the place.
Archaeography.
Yeah.
That's a new one.
It is.
What exactly is that?
It's a fascinating blend of intuitive sensing and in-depth knowledge of the history and archaeology of a site.
Okay.
It's about going beyond the physical remains and tuning into those layers of meaning and energy that have built up over time.
So it's like an archaeologist who can not only dig up artifacts,
Right.
but also sense the stories and emotions embedded in the landscape itself.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that a place holds more than just physical remnants of the past. It's a repository of memories, emotions, and energies that can be sensed and interpreted.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
How did they use this approach at Bellis Nap?
Well, they use dowsing to map out things like underground water lines, which is pretty standard.
Okay.
But they also paid close attention to their own subjective experiences while they were there.
Mm.
They noted any shifts in energy, changes in their mood,
Wow.
even unusual smells or sounds.
So they were really using all four of those dowsing disciplines.
Right?
The artist, the mystic, the scientist, and the magician.
Yes.
To piece together a more complete understanding of the site.
They were, and what they found is pretty fascinating.
Really?
They described sensing distinct lines of energy coming from the barrow, as well as some areas that had this heavy, oppressive energy that felt unsettling.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So they were picking up on those subtle cues, those unseen layers that you might miss if you were only focused on the physical stuff.
Exactly. And they also noted how these energies seem to interact with the surrounding landscape, connecting the barrow to nearby features like hills, valleys, and even other ancient sites.
It's like the barrow is acting as a node
Yeah.
in a larger network of energy, a focal point in a web of interconnectedness.
That's a great way to visualize it.
Okay.
And what's really wild is that their dowsing findings often coincided with GPS anomalies, places where their GPS readings went haywire
Really?
and didn't match their actual location.
Like their intuitive sensing and technical glitches were lining up?
Yes.
Now that's what I call an aha moment.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder about how those subtle energies might be interacting with technology.
It's a question that definitely deserves more exploration.
Yeah.
What could those GPS anomalies be telling us about the nature of these unseen forces?
Yeah.
It's fascinating to think about.
Okay, we're going to need a whole separate deep dive just to unpack those GPS anomalies. Yeah. Because that's a rabbit hole I'm definitely going down.
Agreed. It's a topic ripe for further investigation.
Okay, so we've got this ancient long barrow, bill of snap, acting as an energetic focal point,
Right.
potentially even messing with GPS readings.
Yeah.
What other insights did they gain from this site?
They described sensing something they called a mask associated with the site.
Okay, a mask.
Yes.
What exactly do they mean by that?
They describe it as the unique character or personality of a place. Kind of like a vibe,
Yeah.
but much deeper than that. It encompasses the history, the energetics,
Right.
even the potential dangers of a location.
So it's like each place has its own energy signature, shaped by everything that's happened there, the people who've been there,
Right.
the geology, everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that each location has its own story to tell, its own secrets to reveal.
Right.
And the authors emphasize the importance of respecting the mask of a place, acknowledging its power, and approaching it with humility and caution.
So don't just barge in and demand answers.
Right.
Listen to what the place has to say.
Exactly.
It's like you're a guest there.
That's a perfect analogy.
Okay.
It's about fostering a sense of reciprocity,
Right.
recognizing that these places are not just passive objects, but active participants in the dowsing experience.
So we've explored Bella Snap with its network of energy GPS anomalies and mysterious mask. You mentioned there was another site, Goodle Farm,
Yes.
where they suspected another long barrow might be hidden.
Right?
What can you tell us about that investigation?
Wiggled Farm presented a different kind of challenge because there was very little to see on the surface.
Right.
It was essentially a flat field with only subtle hints that something might be lying beneath.
So no imposing stone structures
Right.
or obvious signs of an ancient site.
No.
They had to rely even more on their dowsing skills and intuition
Yes.
to figure out what might be hidden.
Exactly. They were working with very little to go on visually.
Yeah.
They used GPS mapping to carefully document their findings, creating a detailed record of their movements and the subtle changes they sensed as they walked the site.
So the scientist mode was in full swing,
Yeah.
meticulously documenting those intuitive insights.
Yes.
What did they find?
Remarkably, they discovered a significant GPS anomaly
Really?
that coincided with the spot where they suspected the long barrow might be located.
Wait, another GPS anomaly.
Yes.
So now we've got these unseen energies potentially messing with technology at two separate sites.
I know. It's pretty interesting.
There's definitely something going on here.
Yeah.
They also described sensing a blind spring or a similar water source at that location,
Right.
which further supports the possibility of a buried structure.
Exactly.
So the dowsing rods and the GPS were both pointing towards something significant, even though there was nothing visible on the surface.
It's true.
That's incredible.
It really highlights how dowsing can be a powerful tool for uncovering hidden stories and revealing those layers of history and energy that might otherwise go unnoticed.
It also underscores the importance of that multidisciplinary approach,
Right.
combining intuitive sensing with scientific observation and careful analysis.
You got it. It's about recognizing that dowsing is not just about finding things. It's about understanding those deeper connections between people, places, and the unseen forces that shape our world.
Now, before we wrap up this fascinating deep dive into the world of dowsing,
Okay.
the book emphasizes the importance of closing rituals,
Right.
both for safety and for maintaining the quality of your dowsing practice.
Yeah.
Why are those rituals so important? So it seems like closing rituals are a way to create a clear boundary,
Yeah.
between being in that dowsing mode
Right.
and going back to everyday life.
Exactly.
Makes sense. You don't want to carry those energies
Yeah.
or those altered states of consciousness,
Yeah.
back into a situation where it could be dangerous.
Exactly. It's like a diver decompressing
Yeah.
after exploring the deep sea.
Hmm.
A dowser needs to ground themselves
Right.
and transition smoothly back to the everyday world.
So what kind of rituals are we talking about here?
Mhm.
Are we lighting incense and chanting ancient verses?
It's actually much simpler than you might think.
Okay.
The book recommends practical techniques for grounding yourself, eating something solid and sparchy, taking a break to relax and really take in your surroundings, even just consciously saying thank you to the site.
Those sound like simple but effective ways
Yeah.
to create closure
Right.
and ease that transition back to reality.
They really are. And the book also stresses the importance of an after-action review,
Okay.
taking some time to think about your experiences,
Right.
analyze what worked well, and identify areas where you could improve.
It's like any other skill.
Yeah.
You're always learning and refining your approach. A good dowser is constantly striving for greater quality and deeper insights.
That's the spirit. It's about embracing the journey of discovery and recognizing that dowsing is a practice that's always evolving. As we learn more about ourselves, the world around us, and those unseen forces that connect us all.
Well, this deep dive has given us a fascinating glimpse into the world of dowsing.
It has.
And I'm sure our listeners are eager to learn more.
Yeah.
What resources would you recommend for those who want to explore these ideas further?
The book has a fantastic resource section
Okay.
that lists other books, websites, even dowsing societies where you can connect with other practitioners
Oh, wow.
and continue your journey.
Perfect. We'll be sure to include those links in the show notes for everyone.
Great.
And I would encourage anyone who's intrigued to approach dowsing with an open mind.
Yeah.
A healthy dose of skepticism
Right.
and a willingness to experiment and learn from your own experiences.
Absolutely.
Don't just take our word for it. Get out there, explore those subtle energies, and see what you discover.
Exactly. It's a fascinating field full of practical applications and intriguing mysteries just waiting to be uncovered.
And who knows, you might even stumble across a GPS anomaly or two along the way.
Now that would be a story worth sharing.
Absolutely. This deep dive has given you a taste of what dowsing is all about.
Yeah.
If you're feeling inspired, we've got all those resources from the book waiting for you in the show notes. Dive in and discover more.
Happy dowsing, everyone.
And remember, sometimes the most fascinating discoveries are right beneath our feet.
They are.
Until next time, keep exploring.